Hi, I'm Jeff Apodaca.
Eric Strauss.
And welcome to Let's Meet in the Middle. And I don't know if this week, last week we kind of met in the middle a lot. I don't know about this week. At least my first topic I want to talk about.
No, we're pretty, because you're just, you're a never Trumper, so.
No, I didn't say that, but when you got a guy that,
Anytime a president gets elected, and there was never Obama-ners, whatever. I mean, there was people who wanted to see Obama fail. I was not one of those people.
Okay, but hold on.
Because I'm level-headed enough to know that in the face of the world, when we're looking at the health of America, at some point, to just be against your own president all the time
I'm not
is
against
ridiculous.
our own president all the time, but when you have a president, we talked about this last week, but when you're being impeached, and I know you're against the impeachment, and I agree with you.
I'm not against the
I don't
impeachment.
think the impeachment's going to go anywhere.
Look,
but when you have John Bolton,
let's go.
When you have John Bolton, who was your right-hand person, look at that. He said it was a drug deal. He said the president's offering to hold back was almost like a drug deal. By the way, I think he's a whistleblower.
He's the first president in history to do quid pro quo. Obama wasn't doing this.
Wait. We have him on
it's
the
ridiculous.
Conversation. But no, here's the other thing, and that
that
sometimes happens.
Nothing burger.
Well, you keep saying that, but let's see what happens. But I agree that there should be an investigation. Again, look, here's another example. That this is the problem I have. Trump Towers across the street. They bought it before he was president. He's now had over 23 visits, 309 visits. And they're now literally making 390. They're now making $40 million a year, and he's hosting meetings there and having political leaders go there, dude. And he said he brags about the Constitution, but then he talks about the Emirates bill is like I can't remember what he said. It's a fake part of our Constitution, dude. It says in the Constitution that the President of the United States cannot make money. And this is one example of his family. Now the family's getting pressure from the Republicans. So now, I mean, look at his son, Eric Trump says, people are objecting for us making so much money. That's the issue I have, and I hope the investigation goes. They should be looking how the president is using.
Vilifying people making money is.
I'm not saying that, but when you're sitting the president of the United States, you cannot use your power of the White House. So look, I agree with the investigation. I agree with you that I don't think it's going anywhere, but I do think they should be investigated.
Again, waste of time and money. The budget's coming up. There'll be no budget deal. It's all just it's moving peas around to distract us off bigger issues, and I'm just, either impeach him or don't. If you have the smoking gun, why secret closed-door meetings in the basements?
Hold on. There's no secret closed meetings, and your Republican House members had that press conference last week.
Crash into the meeting.
Hold on. The Nixon.
So you're going to accuse me of interrupting you when I didn't even get to finish my thought.
Okay, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
No, you said they crashed the meeting. By the way, this is like a grand jury. The Clinton impeachment, they have private hearings all the time. Let me finish. The Nixon.
I'm not interrupting you.
You're about to. I know you will. I know you well enough.
Okay.
But my point is, they're acting like the Democrats are hosting these private meetings. There's 45 Republican leaders in those meetings asking questions too, by the way.
Okay,
so it's not how and they're going to after they have their private meetings.
Get moving just a bit,
after they have their private meetings, they're going to go into
closed door meetings about nothing again. They're trying to manufacture stuff, but it's
not
okay.
manufacturing. That's how the investigation's done.
Okay,
but I just want
hold on. Mexico.
I want our listeners to know, our viewers to know, that there's 45 Republicans in those private meetings.
But you made that point. Let's move on.
Okay.
So, because we're running out of time. So I wanted to talk about the articles in the Journal, which I think they're doing a great job on, in terms of the drug problems in this city. And this is one of the things that's going to tie into this show today. If we have this many problems, shouldn't our leaders be accountable? On one day,
and that's
one former drug addict, goes around and picks up 1,000 needles. 1,000 needles. And to sit there and say, if you're a city councilor or you're a representative that's running, for another re-election, what have they done to improve our city?
Well, I don't disagree with that. That's one of the things we agree on, because we've talked before on the shows about
we'll hit this hard.
We'll hit this hard because we got bonds and everything else coming. In fact, we got 11 bonds coming up. We have 3 or 4 city council districts and APS districts, and we're going to have Carla Sontag on to basically talk a little bit about that. And so
democracy dollars.
And democracy dollars. We have a special guest about that. So anyway, hey, let's get started.
Let's meet in the middle.
In a time of a divided America, two people from different points of view sit down to talk about the problems, to talk about ideas, to talk about life, and to find common ground. It is now time for Let's Meet in the Middle with your hosts Eric Strauss and Jeff Apodaca.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle. Joining us now is our, I don't know if we're going to call you a resident or our
Two weeks in a row.
go-to gal. Two for two right now. Carla Sontag, New Mexico Business Coalition. We're going to go through the districts. We're going to go through your grading system. And what else are we going to...
And I think the most important thing is that Carla likes my shirt and my eyes more than she likes your shirt and your eyes. She said that off the air, so we have to go with that. Okay. By the way, it's a good shirt.
I know you have a fragile ego.
I kind of noticed that we're in the same color zone today.
I know you're fragile.
But Carla, what we both agree on is Carla's the New Mexico Business Coalition does a great job grading, and it's and let's be very clear, it's graded on pro-economic growth-based ideas for Albuquerque, for New Mexico.
Which, what a shocker! Wouldn't you?
Well, and I agree. That's
to grow.
Well,
as a city?
we've talked before, where
Shocker.
Democrats for Democracy, when we went through it,
Yeah.
we stole their
grading
system. We stole their system because you're not endorsing anybody. So we're not here to endorse anybody. We're here to talk about the issues
and the grades.
And the grades.
So just to give everybody a clear picture of what you're looking at and where you're at.
And I think it's important because one thing I do agree is the state now has changed the laws where all the elections are on one day, where they used to have multiple elections, and so that's why people are asking me on the street, like, why are there so many bonds? Why are there so many this? I'm trying to explain to people, well, this is one election, so things are going to be really in depth.
Well, see, I live in the village of Los Ranchos,
West
and
Village
so
of New York?
no, the village of Los Ranchos. So I didn't even get to vote on half of this stuff.
Oh. Again, and you only vote on this. You only vote on the stuff that's in your district.
For me, because when the taxes go up, I'm going to suffer taxation without. Anyways, let's start with District 8. Trudy Jones is an incumbent, and Maureen Skoran,
I believe
is the challenger. What are the grades of each of these?
And I know they go, and I know it's supposed to be nonpartisan, but Judy's a Republican, Maureen's a Democrat, and Trudy has been there for a while now, right?
Trudy Jones.
Trudy Jones, yeah.
Right. Well, so what we do is we have our priorities set, and they're on our website. We update them every year. We go back to our members and say, what do you think is important for the state? So those are posted. We went to a forum where the city council district candidates were interviewed. They had 4 questions. And they were very much about pro-business policies. And so I sat there and I listened to their answers, and I rated them according to the Business Coalition priorities based on their responses and what they had planned to do for the city. And that's where the scores came from. Trudy Jones was scored A-, and Maureen Skowron D-.
Now, why?
Because Maureen's drunk on the money. Let me tell you, straight off the top.
By the way, let Carla answer that one.
Go ahead.
Why the A versus why the A- versus the D-? What did you see within those 2 candidates? Why an A versus a D?
Well, Trudy maybe has an advantage because she is a business owner, so she understands what it takes to run a business, where Ms. Skowron doesn't. And again, that's our focus. Skowron is more focused on environmental issues and policies, which, we appreciate that. Everybody wants a clean environment. We don't argue that. We want clean water and air. But that is only one among 11 priorities that we have. And when you look at them in context, we felt that we needed a more balanced approach to taxation and regulation of business, how we can grow jobs, how we can get people to work, and how we can increase the success of our state, our city and our state.
So the bottom line is, when you look at a Skowron versus a Jones, you're looking at somebody that wants to raise CRS, pay for social programs, pay for all this stuff, and at the end of the day, somebody's got to make the money to pay for it, whereas Jones is probably looking at it from a business lens going, you've got to make it easier for us to do business.
Exactly. And one of the questions they asked, for example, was would they support, and in this case, Jones actually voted on the paid sick leave. So Jones was against it, Skowron was for it. Business does not thrive when you have those kind of policies forced upon them. So.
And I think, and talking about sick leave, I think some of us are not, and I believe it's important for some type of sick leave element, but I think the way it was structured by the city council, the way it was pushed through, really hurts local businesses, and I think that's where we agreed on that.
Here's the danger in general, and Jeff, I'm gonna lay this out there. We live in a capitalistic free market economy, which is, we're a mixed economy. Let's be honest
In New
about that.
Mexico, we are.
But
Correct.
here's the issue: is if I'm a 20-year employee and I'm getting sick leave and I'm getting benefits because I want to keep that employee, I'm a business owner. You take care of the people who work hard for you. You know, if somebody told me I'm going to leave because I don't have sick leave, I would work to get them sick leave. And that's the thing. It takes away the competitive market. It makes this strenuous demands on business, and somebody's got to pay for it at the end of the day.
No, I hear it. So let's move on.
Okay.
Okay, so we see where you guys are standing. You're favoring Judy, or you graded Judy as Trudy Jones as an A versus Maureen. So let's move on to
That's District 8.
And that's District 8, which is basically the Northeast Heights. Let's move on to City Council District 6, which is the Nob Hill, UNM area. Correct me if I'm wrong. It kind of extends all the way to downtown, correct? Kind of the downtown area. And Pat Davis is the incumbent.
Yes.
He's being challenged by Gina Dennis. And where did you guys end up with them? Because I know I'm going to disagree with you here, but go ahead.
Yes, Davis was a D-, and Dennis
Drunk on the money
was
again.
a C-. Now, you know,
Well, by the way, both are not great grades. So
No.
I mean,
Right.
both are basically, you got to, because most every category you have at least an A through a D. This is both a C and a D, and in my household, those are failing grades, by the way. Why both? Why Pat a D-, and Gina a C-?
well, neither one of them were, in our opinion, pro-business. They were not looking out for business. Now, I understand their district, but in their district, they have people that need to work. There are businesses that need to create jobs. And Pat Davis in particular, I think that he could be a very good leader for the city. He has a different direction than we would like to see the city going, and that is focusing on business and prosperity, where he supported that mandatory sick leave. And I agree with what Eric said. In my office, we pay way above minimum wage, over double, and we have benefits. Because I want good employees and I want them happy, because when they're happy, they're productive, and I like that. So forcing businesses into bad policy is not a good idea, and Pat supported that bad idea.
Well, and Pat, but hold on. But Pat also, because I'm going to defend Pat. First of all, I think Pat's doing a good job for his district. Pat and I don't always agree on some of his positions, but he represents the district as a whole. The majority of his district does believe in his stance. So it's a very progressive, liberal district. There are business owners there. By the way, most of the business owners I know don't live in that district, by the way, but they own businesses there. Pat did defend, and I didn't, this is one of the things I disagreed with, the art project, but Pat did defend and tried to help businesses along Central and along the Nob Hill area as best as possible. He has pushed for pro-business things in his community before, specifically with funding, and I know it was state or city funding when that project went bad. But again, I think Pat is doing a good job representing his district. We may not always agree with his positions, but I think he represents his district.
Let me ask you, when you say represent district and you have businesses in the district that generate jobs, revenue, income, right? Ask a business owner in the district if Pat Davis is doing a good job.
Well, and then again, they can vote him out.
When their store has been broken into 10 times in 1 month.
I don't disagree. Those business things and those issues are concerns, but you know, again, now what about Gina? Why did
Gina C-?
Gina got a C-.
Yeah, she was just a little bit better on policy. She was supporting the sick leave, but there was just a little bit more of an edge of being cognizant of what business needs. Not enough. Neither one of those candidates stood out as someone that I thought, boy, they could make a difference for business. And when I say business, I'm talking about creating jobs so that people can feed their families and create the personal wealth and prosperity that they all need. That also expands our tax base so we can take care of those that can't work Everybody wins when business is doing well in the city.
So bottom line is, no one got an A or B in your grading system. Pat got a D and Gina got a C. Again, I go back to, I think he represents his district fine.
I'm just going to say, based on fresh thoughts, fresh ideas, what that district looks like in terms of drug use, crime, whatever, isn't it time to give Gina, Naomi, Dennis a shot? Pat's been there.
Well,
it's time to clean the house a
we'll
little bit.
Let's move on.
Okay.
We'll let the voters decide on that coming this Tuesday. So let's move. We're going to District 4 now. So, and we got about 2 minutes to get through District 4. We got Brooke Bassan,
This is a big one.
Anya Romero, and this Athena, and this person's is taking over Brad Winter's place, who is retiring. And we talked about this before, but and you guys had Brooke at an A. You had Athena at a D, and you had Anya Romero at a C. Mm-hmm. Why the grading difference?
Again, it's focus and what we believe they're going to do for business. And let me say about all of these people, this is not personal.
Right.
I think Pat Davis as an individual is a great guy.
Yeah, probably a nice guy. Again.
Yeah, Athena, Anya, they're all very nice people. This is not personal.
Mm-hmm. No,
it
it's
is strictly
basically on your guidelines. And I've been to
Yes.
your job interviews. In fact, we co-hosted a couple of job interviews before
Right.
with candidates before. So I think it's a good questionnaire. You gave Brooke an A. This is actually my district, District 4. We've had Brooke on the show before. And let me make it very clear. We've invited every candidate onto the show before to visit with us. And so,
We've invited Pat like 3 or 4 times now.
and not just about
Yeah.
his candidacy,
No,
but about,
just about-
other topics.
Yeah.
And Anya, you basically gave Anya, what was that again? You gave Anya
C-.
a C minus. And again, living in the district, my main concern is basically fixing potholes, fixing roads. You know what? We're gonna have to go to commercial. So let's come back. Let's go to commercial. Let's come back to District 4 right after this. But
See, I have bigger issues than just potholes. So.
I don't know, but we'll talk about
Yeah.
that. But you know what? Let's go to commercial. Anyway, stay.
Follow us on Facebook Live.
Facebook Live, and you can also follow us on Democrats for Democracy. But thank you for Indigo Mortgage and Ryan Soenvac. But we'll be back right after this.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Indigo Mortgage offers better rates and terms than that of big banks and out-of-state lenders. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loans. Let us serve you with an exemplary level of care. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
Ryan Sewing and Vacuum is New Mexico's #1 Brother dealer. Brother's new Luminaire has a built-in projection system which helps with quilting, embroidering, and sewing. Ryan's has a variety of machines to satisfy quilters, sewers, embroiders, and long armors. We offer the finest vacuums like Miele, Riccar, and Lindhaus. Check out our fantastic selection of fabrics and sewing furniture. We also offer classes, repair, and financing. Drop by our store in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Ryan Sewing and Vacuum, serving New Mexico for 37 years.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle. Joining us again is Carla Sontag from the New Mexico Business Coalition. We've been talking about the candidates in the grading system, and we want to thank you for coming in again, by the way.
Thanks,
I really
Carla.
appreciate
Thanks for having me.
We're going to move right into District 2 now.
No. We got to
Oh,
finish
we
up
gotta
with
finish
District
up
4
District
because
4.
we went to commercial.
Brooke Bassan, yeah.
Yeah, so let's finish up with District 4. So we had talked about it. Brooke Bassan,
I like Brooke.
You gave,
I can say I'm
and-
endorsing her. So.
And Brooke's been on our show, and
Yeah.
and I actually live in District 4, and I'm favoring Brooke. Actually, I've endorsed Brooke myself, so I shouldn't say that. I was trying to be politically correct, but let's call it what it is. For someone that lives in District 4, Brooke had, and the reason, and not because I've become friends with Brooke, but Brooke has worked with Brad. I believe City Council needs to work within our district, needs to work within our city to fix things and run things, right? Athena, I've met her, a very nice person. We've invited her on the show. All she talks about is renewable energies.
Yes.
Not against renewables. In fact, as a candidate, I want to invest $1 billion into renewables. I don't think the City Council in my district, I'm more worried about my schools, crime, and fixing potholes.
But this is the
right?
problem with city council in general, and this is why I say it's time for change. They want to legislate guns and all this different stuff that's way beyond the scope of city councils. It's like at some point you have to tighten your focus, say we're about business, we're about improving the city, we're about street lights, we're about crime, not all this nonsense that they try to do all the time.
And I'm probably more up to on the district board because I'm very involved in that community. Brooke's running to replace Brad. Brad's endorsed Brooke. She also has endorsements from the police unions and the Albuquerque Journal and things like that. But the reason I like Brooke is because she's been involved in the community. She's lived in the community. She's from Albuquerque. Anya and I like Anya. One of the issues I had with her was she's basically just moved into the district. So it's almost
she's new in.
Well, it's almost like, and again, Brooke's raising a family of 4. And Athena lives in the district and is raising kids too. I know all 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
And they're neighbors of mine. They're actually neighbors of mine. But again, I told Athena, I said, renewables are great. I don't want my city council person just sitting there talking about renewables.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to create jobs.
Let's
Talk about the issues in our
the
district. So you guys graded Brooke out as an A, and I probably would agree with that. And I wish her luck on that. Let's move to District 2, because District 2.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
That's where
and it's getting
it's
getting contentious.
Yes.
Ike Benton is the incumbent and has been there for a while. Ike's been there for a while. And
You've got 8 candidates, 2, 4, 6 candidates for that district.
Yep.
So.
And what do you guys see in that district? Because I know you actually gave Stephen Baca an A. You gave Ike, the incumbent, a D.
Is it Isaac or Ike?
I call him Ike. It's probably Isaac, but,
It's Isaac.
but he goes by Ike
Yeah.
Benton. But he
Right.
goes by Ike Benton.
What grade did he get?
He got a
D.
D. And then Robert,
Kind of goes back to my theory.
Robert
It's
Nelson.
time to clean the clock
Robert
a
Nelson
bit.
got a D, and Ana Romero. Oh no, that's sorry. Read the wrong one.
Connie V. Hill.
Connie V. Hill. Connie V. Hill got a B. So Steve Baca,
Oh, Connie
Connie
got a
V.
B.
Hill, B's in that district, and and just so everybody knows, that district is the Albuquerque Country Club, downtown,
area. Yeah,
downtown.
west side kind of area, southwest side
Right.
of the area, right?
So the 2 that kind of rose to the top was Stephen Baca with an A, and he was really right on target for all of the priority issues that the Business Coalition has. Connie V. Hill is also very good, but she is a little more limited. She is very, very focused on the homeless situation, which is really bad down there.
Especially in that district.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and she headed a new group to start trying to address that situation because the city was not doing it. And I appreciate her stepping up. But she's a little bit of a one-issue kind of gal, and so we want to see something a little more rounded, and that's why she wasn't an A. But I think she's got some good answers, some good ideas, and the homeless situation down there is really out of control.
Yeah.
And, it
And
needs
this
to be addressed.
is, and I've talked to Ike about this before, and I don't know Stephen Baca. I've met Connie before. The other candidates, Zach, I know Zach. Zach's part
Quintero.
of
He got a C minus.
He's part of the Young Democrats, very progressive movement. What did you guys not like about Zach? Because my understanding, again, there's no polling, but internal polling, my understanding, it's Steve Baca, Zach, and Ike that are really battling it out in that district.
We don't endorse and we don't care about polls. We rate them according to our priorities of what we see is going to move the city forward. So Zach, I think, is a great guy. He is very progressive. Being progressive doesn't always jive with pushing a business type agenda, but the reason that Zach was higher than some is because I think Zach is somebody that will listen. I think that he can be a little more reasonable. So that's why he had a higher score. Isaac Benton, we're very disappointed in. He has an opportunity to lead and has not taken it to lead in the right direction for the city. And so we're not satisfied with that. We see the city falling apart, and there are places where we need new leadership. Trudy Jones is not one of them. I think we should leave her in because she's doing a great job.
And you know, and
See,
this
but
and this one, and you have to get 51% without a runoff. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe
So
so.
this is the one. This is one race. The conversation is they believe District 2 will have a runoff because they don't think any one candidate's going to get 50.1%.
Right. I think most of them are working really hard, and so it's going to be interesting to see.
But again, I'm going to go back to, if you live in that district, and you're not happy with the district, why on earth would you vote for Isaac Benton?
Well, and
I
again,
mean, right?
this and district.
What is that?
Well,
that district's a mess.
Well,
It
and
is.
District 2, and I agree with that. District 2 is it's a very mixed district. There's progressive sides of that district. There's pro-business sides, older communities in that district. So it is one of the districts, more complicated districts. And I'm assuming that's why so many people, because if you look at each one of them, they're almost representing a niche within that district.
That's true, but if you look at that district, it's the worst, I think, just about the worst in the city now because of the homelessness, the drug use down there.
The vacant buildings.
Yes.
Because what's the incentive to move and take the risk down there when you know that so many, if you were just looking at leasing property down there and you talk to a business owner, say you went next door to the property, say, hey, how is it down here? Is it, and you'd hear about crime, you'd hear about the homeless, you hear about drug, and you're like, think I'll tap out on that one.
Right. You'll
And
go
so,
find a different
I mean, but
district.
seriously, at some point, as Albuquerqueans, we need to ask this question, like, who's going to start cleaning it up down there?
Right.
And if it's Isaac who's been there, and that's the mess he's leaving, then he needs to be accountable for that.
Well, and again, let's hope people get out and vote the way they want to. Now let's move on to probably probably one of the most important positions when you have young kids.
APS
and,
board.
And APS board, and rarely does anybody pay attention to this. So I want to go through this really quickly.
We had 7% vote. the
Well,
last
and
time
hopefully we get
met.
a bit. So let's look at District 1. Tell us about District 1 a little bit.
Madeline Jones
And Yolanda,
Montoya
who's the
Okay.
incumbent?
Yeah, so we went to a forum at an APS facility, one of their Taj Mahals that they built instead of taking care of our children, by the way.
Taj Mahal.
Madeline didn't
Mahal.
show up, so we went back and asked her questions. We tried to get answers from all of them. So I believe Madeline's very focused on education and has been for a very long time. I've watched how she has worked over the years. And so we did not score these people the way that we did with the city council. But I believe that Madeline is more focused on what we would agree needs to change with APS.
Which is, how about some fiscal conservative?
So let's talk about
Yes.
District 2. You got Laura Harris and Peggy
Lori
Aragon.
Harris.
Lori Harris and Peggy Aragon.
Yes, and just in general, we made a statement on the APS board. It is not going in the direction it should be. We're not satisfied with the financial management within the district. We are not satisfied with the education that our children are not getting. We don't have good graduation rates. We have a lot of problems. And so for the most part, we think the incumbents need to go, with the exception of Peggy Muller-Aragon. We think she is doing an excellent job, and when you follow Peggy and you go to the meetings, she is often a lone voice for doing the right thing. And we admire that. It's been hard row for her to take, and she's taken it well. So the fact that she wants to run again is good for her.
But at some point, you have to ask yourself on the APS board, it's like, if you're on the board and you do get reelected, here's my message to you. Look at what's going on, look at where our schools rank, and quit doing what you're doing, because it's not working.
Right.
All these professional development buildings and kids going to classrooms that have no air conditioning, no heating, whatever it is, it's like at some point you have to ask yourself, if we look at 48 cents of every dollar not even making it to the classroom, what on earth will it take for these people to wake up and say,
And I agree.
we need to spend the money
In the
on the
classroom,
kids?
right. And that's what we've talked about
Enough
many
of
a
these
times.
programs, enough of these buildings.
Well, let's get, before we run out
okay,
of time,
sorry.
let's go to District 4, which is the last APS position. Let's go to District 4. We got
Laura Carson. Verlin Coker.
and then Barbara Peterson, and Barbara's the incumbent, correct?
Yes, and so what we did was we posted all of our questions and answers on the website so people can go look at that. We are very dissatisfied with Peterson's performance. It's not good. You got two other choices there.
She's the incumbent?
She is the incumbent, and it's just not working. And we believe that voters ought to consider a change. It's up to them. They can look at some of the answers that were posted. But look at where the district is and see, do you agree with what they're doing or not? We do not. And we feel bad for our kids.
We need people on the APS board to really have more oversight of APS and the direction of APS is, because we've had many conversations, and we've had APS,
Yeah.
we've invited APS to be on the show a couple of times, and either couldn't make it or turned us down, because it is an issue. I have small kids that are in APS right now. We see it, we're living it right now.
Yeah.
You're an APS teacher,
Yeah.
you live it every day. Saying that,
Here's what I've seen, and I'll tell you. It's program after program after program with nothing being improved for actual teachers and teaching. Just these programs, they dump money into just program after program, building after building, and at the end of the day, what's it done for our kids?
well, let's go. This is
Okay,
a
go
good
ahead.
transition. Let's, because we got about 2 minutes left in this segment, and I know then you have to leave, but because you know you're going to miss us.
Yeah, I will.
But let's. I want to wrap. I do want to wrap up into. Let's talk about, because we talked about this last week, the APS bond, the mill levy bond. It will increase. This is not a bond. I should say mill levy. This will increase our taxes.
Yes.
This will increase our taxes, depending on what you're looking at. You're looking
With
at
a surplus, by
with
the
a
way.
surplus. You're looking at 9 to 19%. You guys voted against this, correct? If I recall.
Well, again, we don't tell voters how to
Yeah,
vote,
I
but we
do.
put out a lot of
As I do.
information on that. And what we want people to look at, here's a good thing that we just posted. Look at the comparison between APS and the Rio Rancho Public Schools on construction costs and education. Education in particular, APS spends $2,467,607 per student, where Rio Rancho does $1,000.61 per
So that's
student
half,
for education.
almost half.
Yes,
Yeah.
but
First-
look at the graduation rates. Look at the success. Construction costs between the two are about the same. But what do we have in Rio Rancho? We have air-conditioned buildings. We have water that the kids can drink. We have good facilities for the kids to attend classes. APS is falling apart, and why?
And no
Because they
ivory
keep
towers.
building new
Ivory
buildings.
And we've talked about this before. The new construction they have, it's twice the cost of other projects that other school districts have done. It sounds like it's been closed bids or long-term contract bids. And again, goes back to none of us disagree with improving these schools. But then let's remind everybody, we have $1.2 billion of surplus. They put $600 million of capital outlay improvements at the state level. So before you start raising our taxes, let's look at the taxes we already have. We're going to be right back right after this commercials. We have to go to commercial. We'll be right back.
Ryan Sewing and Vacuum is New Mexico's #1 Brother dealer. Brother's new Luminaire has a built-in projection system which helps with quilting, embroidering, and sewing. Ryan's has a variety of machines to satisfy quilters, sewers, embroiders, and long armors. We offer the finest vacuums like Miele, Riccar, and Lindhaus. Check out our fantastic selection of fabrics and sewing furniture. We also offer classes, repair, and financing. Drop by our store in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Ryan Sewing and Vacuum, serving New Mexico for 37 years.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Indigo Mortgage offers better rates and terms than that of big banks and out-of-state lenders. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loans. Let us serve you with an exemplary level of care. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle. Joining us now is Eric Shimamoto from Olay, organizing in the land of enchantment, and of course, Carla Sontag from the New Mexico Business Coalition. We thank you guys for coming on today. Organizing in the land of enchantment is actually, it's a nonprofit grassroots organizing
Organization.
tool. Democracy dollars are your issue, healthy workforce, workers' rights, early education, and citizenship.
But
So-
before we jump
but
into
yeah,
that,
we're gonna go back to
I want to go
APS.
back to APS because
Yep.
the APS bond mill levy is very important. They're asking for a tax increase of $112 million.
Oh, hey-o.
And again, this is very similar that we've talked about in the past. Very similar, Carla, to the bill to the bond that failed back in February on a special election on this.
Do they just keep redoing it
Well,
until they get it?
and we talked about this on I think a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
The concern we had is
It's a permanent
well, the
tax, right?
definition was a school building, but they wouldn't define
What a
school
building
And then we
is.
asked APS to come
Yeah.
on and talk to us about it, because my biggest issue is, and I'll just clarify, is our state has $1.2 billion of surpluses.
Yeah.
$600 million last year went into capital outlay projects specifically for these types of projects.
Yeah.
So when APS sits on a $3 million surplus, why do we need to push a tax down to Albuquerque residents
Yep.
when we have plenty of surpluses? So tell me, let's finish up that conversation.
Well, this is a continuation of tax and bond issues that have been in place. So they shouldn't be increasing our taxes any more than they already are. If they fail, our taxes would go down. School districts throughout the state have to do some of this. They're not going to get all their capital outlay from the state. Right. So they are responsible for doing this. We're not lobbying for or against the issue. What we are wanting voters to understand is where the money goes and ask themselves, is it being managed properly? Are we taking care of our children the way that we should, putting them in classrooms that they should be in, or are we not? That's how voters can get through to their APS school board, by letting them know what they think about their management through their vote on this issue.
And my biggest concern with APS, when I was running for governor, to the districts that are really successful, the districts that are doing really well, 68 to 72% of their dollars are going into the classroom, going to the teachers, going specifically to that.
And you're talking in New Mexico.
In New Mexico.
Yeah.
But if you look across the country, the states that put more money into the classroom actually are doing better.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my biggest issue with this, and I've talked to Raquel about this, my big issue with this is 48 cents to every dollar goes into the classroom. And I have kids at APS. I have twin boys that are 11 in 5th grade. I see it, and we have friends that are teachers. I see the classrooms. Air conditioners don't work.
Right.
Water doesn't work. There's lead in the building. Let's fix those, and you can raise my taxes all you want. I'm just nervous about where this money goes.
No, just new buildings keep popping up.
Right.
For, I don't know for what. I've never been in the new training resource center on Louisiana right there.
And they pay double the square footage than other projects.
Well, I've been in there, and you know, they've got 20-foot ceilings. You could do a basketball tournament in there, and it's for training for teachers. The children will never see it. And we have kids that don't have proper AC and heat, and they can't drink the water. And this is a problem that we've got. Take care of the children first. That is what that school district is charged to do.
Well, let's move on. Let's move on. I think the two big conversations in this election, besides City Council, is Prop 1, which is moving public financing from $1 to $1.75, which sounds good, and I kind of favor, because I believe in public financing. The issue is, until we get rid of, we've talked about it before, until we get rid of PACs and private sector money coming in supporting candidates with public funding, I got a problem moving any more public funding from $1 to $1.75.
Right. Right, because you're not getting that dark money out. We just had another story break, Channel 7. I don't know where they got the information, but the Business Coalition connected the dots for the voters, and we put that out this morning.
Well, explain what you're talking about so everybody knows what we're saying here.
So this is really getting in, you're combining Prop 1 and Prop 2. Prop 1 is to get more public financing.
Right.
But you're not going to get the dark money out of that. That is when corporations or PACs or whoever wants to contribute and get their opinion out on a candidate. They're not supposed to coordinate the PAC with the candidate. But there have been cases of that going on. That aside, that's a different discussion. What we have today that we're looking at is, will you accomplish what you want by increasing this money going to candidates? And our answer is no. You're not going to get that dark money out.
And so what was the story that broke on Channel 7?
Well, this goes into where they're talking about, we have a candidate, Maureen Skowron, that opted for public financing, and that is an option for our city council candidates. Her opponent, Trudy Jones, opted out of that, saying, I'll raise money myself. Right. Trudy was doing well with the fundraising. There's a lot of people that support her re-election as the incumbent, and so there is a PAC that was set up to help the other candidate. And there was a lot of money, $50,000 came in from California in order to support Skowron. And so we're thinking, well, why does California want to buy an Albuquerque City Council seat?
Yeah.
It's a little disconcerting.
So
and we wonder what their issues are. It's got to be legalization or something.
Well, again, you always go back to that. But what I'm saying is like,
well,
again,
California,
my biggest
their
By the way,
stake in the
by the way,
game.
they're making no money selling marijuana.
But go ahead.
But that was a whole different show, two
Yeah,
episodes.
2 episodes ago.
But my point is until we have, here's my belief, until we have open primaries, until we get rid of the PACs, I believe in public financing, but it has to be with open primaries and it has to be with no PACs. Saying that, let's go into Prop 2 because Eric's sitting here.
Eric's
very itchy.
holding his tongue, and so Eric Shimamoto, your Olay, Organizing in the Land of Enchantment, is for democracy dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, explain your position and why.
Well, so
And
actually,
this is Prop 2 that everybody can vote for.
Yes,
For-
Proposition
Well, I
2.
couldn't vote for it.
In
on my
Albuquerque, if you're in
ballot.
Albuquerque, if you're in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
so this actually does address exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to go back real quick. We have public financing in Albuquerque. We've had it since we enacted it in 2005. We didn't have it for that election, but 70% of Burqueños voted for public financing, and so we implemented it. 4 years later, in the first mayoral race that it got used, there were 3 candidates running. All 3 of them used public financing, and that was not a race that was awash with PAC money and outside actors. It
Well,
was
but
actually.
remember, Keller got, let's be honest though, Keller
I'm talking
had
about
some.
2009.
Right, okay.
So
Our last mayoral election.
I'll talk about our last
Yeah,
mayoral
okay,
election. So in
okay.
2009, what I'm saying is
Yeah.
the system basically worked. There wasn't a whole lot of outside influence. It wasn't big money. All 3 candidates had the same amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
and they ran healthy campaigns. One of them got elected. That was Mayor Barry.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years later, the Supreme Court handed down Citizens United, and campaigns started to get more expensive right away. And then they also handed down a lesser-known case called Arizona Free Enterprise Club, I think, that struck down a portion of our public finance system. One of the system did 2 things. If a candidate opts to use the system and qualifies by going out and collecting the $5 donations and getting their signatures and agreeing to not take outside money, then they would get funding for their campaign. And the other thing they would get is if a privately financed candidate came into that race and was outraising them with getting a whole bunch more money, then they would get matching funds to keep the campaign on an even playing field. That matching provision got struck down in the Arizona case. So then, 2 years later, we had another mayoral race with 3 candidates again, and one of them, Mayor Barry, who had successfully won an election using a publicly financed campaign, decided, well, now I can outspend my opponents, right? So he raised public money, and he and so now the system's raised private money, and so now the system's not working quite the same way. Fast forward 4 years to the race you're thinking of, we have 8 candidates running, and they've seen what happened 4 years earlier, right?
Yeah.
Only one of those candidates used public funding, and that was Tim Keller, and he also had the support of a big outside expenditure organization that was raising
close to $1 million and,
Right,
and
right.
spend
Well-
that money. And let me make this very clear. Tim's a friend of mine, but let's be very. There was also some with the group that ran the PAC and his campaign. There was crossover, and there were some complaints made and filed. They apologize and pays people back, but that's what I'm saying is,
And then it went away very
between the
quietly.
PACs, and Tim's a friend of mine, and I supported Tim Keller, so I'm going to be very frank. I
Yeah.
supported Tim. Between the PACs and the public financing, it's just this game that they're playing, and I just think it's just a way we're abusing the system. But let's get to democracy dollars.
So that's part of the world we live in, right? That's Citizens United. We can't, I mean, literally, the U.S. Supreme Court has said we can't stop that. Money is speech, and we
If the
can't
state
limit
wanted
that
to stop
speech.
it, we could actually stop it.
Well,
If our legislators and our governor wanted to stop it, we could actually stop it.
well, we can't outright prohibit it. That's what Citizens United says. I mean, there are things we can do to stop it. Democracy dollars is an attempt at that, though.
So just explain that to us, because there's so much confusion here, because I'm very confused. At the beginning, it sounds like it's a good idea, but when my mind, and I just ran a campaign for governor, when I see what goes on behind and the organizations, what goes on behind, the corruption with the democracy dollars concerns the heck out of me.
Well, what's the corruption you're concerned about?
Well, number one, it's favoritism. So if I like a candidate, I give them my
you're well
democracy dollars. So one candidate immediately, because you had talked about one candidate out earning another, you're just shoveling that with public money
If
now.
Olay backs a
If there's 4
candidate-
candidates, split the money, give each one the same amount.
If Olay backs a candidate, or a union or an organization backs a candidate, and they like that candidate, and that organization happens to have 500 manpowers to go door to door on behalf of that candidate, that's favoritism.
That would be an outside organization coordinating with a campaign, though, and that's not allowed, right? I mean, we can
Is that in the
you
rules?
could endorse.
Is that in the rules on the document right
Well,
now?
outside.
And then all your members. Like
No, but hold
Michigan,
on. Is that in the rules? that we're
Independent
gonna-
expenditure organizations are already prohibited from coordinating with campaigns.
Can the campaign organize 500 people to go out and collect, or does the candidate have to do it?
With the candidate's campaign?
The candidate's campaign, does the candidate have to go pick out the
What do you mean,
$25?
personally stand on
Personally go
everybody's?
stand
No,
there?
the candidate's own campaign can do that work,
So the
just as they
candidate
do
can hire,
now.
the candidate can hire 500 people. Those 500 people can go out and collect those $25.
That's how, I mean, you're upset with fundraising, it sounds like, right? I mean, that's how fundraising works.
Well, my
But-
concern with the democracy dollars, it's taxpaying
Taxpayer
dollars giving money to candidates who are better organized or who can hire more people. So you can hire more people to go out and collect public finance dollars. I got a problem with that.
And then it creates an unlevel playing field because you're taking public money and you're saying, this candidate's more popular, so he's going to collect more democracy
Well, if you-
dollars. And isn't the goal to say, you all get the same money, now go,
But let's do
go
this.
run on
But-
the issues, right?
But why democracy dollars? Why do you guys think it works?
Well,
And why are you supporting it?
Well, the idea is actually to level the playing field. We have an unlevel playing field right now. If I want to go out and collect big checks from, my friends or my connections, whoever they are, and I can outspend a candidate who's decided not to do that because they want to be beholden to the people instead of their donors, I can do that. I can go out and I know we were talking about a race in District 8, and you're right, Trudy has done very well in her fundraising, and she's gotten almost all of that money, the majority of her money, from one sector of the economy, right? And that sector can expect to be very well represented if they continue to fund candidates, which they do every time. I'm talking about the land use sector, real estate, developers, contractors, right? Trudy's got like 64% of her fundraising so far is from this one sector of the economy. So then when you go to the city council and you wonder why do the developers always get what they want when they were talking about Santolina or ART or the new IDO or $2.6 million going to, well, but the land development. Yeah, yes, but all the councilors collect their money from the same place.
I just want to stay focused, Eric. Let's go back to democracy dollars.
Certainly.
Why should Albuquerqueans vote for this? And because when I first heard about it, I favored it. The more and more I dig into it, it makes me nervous.
Well, because Albuquerque is more than just real estate developers, because there are more interests than that. The idea is that we make the candidates come to the people, come to all of us, and not just the deep pockets.
Okay, do me a favor, because one city in the country is doing this, right? Seattle. So give us some insight on Seattle. How's it working there? Or if you know or not, how's it working there? How's the model working there on democracy dollars there?
I'm not sure I'm totally up to date on Seattle. I do know.
Yeah, we'll let you. Yeah, go ahead.
I do know that one of the things that happened right away after they did their first election using the system was 2017. So they've had one election and they're doing their second right now. Yeah. I do know that after that 2017 election, one of the things that you could look at was you could look at who was involved in the campaign, who were the donors, right? Because they had these coupons that they could use, and if you looked at a map of Seattle before the system and say, well, where did the donors come from? You could just look at, well, this is a map of the rich neighborhoods, right? And afterwards, if you did the same thing, it's like, this is the whole city. This is the whole city investing in candidates in a way that then increased turnout, because when you invest in a candidate, you are invested in that candidate and you follow up. And so it did have that healthy effect.
What's going to stop a candidate going to a campaign, going to a door, saying, here's $10, give me your $25 back?
Well, I mean, that's fraud, right?
But what's
It's
going to
not
stop
allowed.
it? But can't we build in the rules? That's not allowed. Is that in the rules? Because I didn't read that. I didn't read that in the rules.
They have no idea what they're
That's
doing.
you understand.
You
and
keep
by the
talking
way-
about
by the way-
rules as if rules exist.
And by the way, we're
This is-
bringing up concerns that our viewers and Facebook Live have brought up to us.
sure,
So I'm not.
sure.
We're just not bringing that. This is what our viewers have talked about in the past.
Sure. So the Open Ethical Election Code, which is what we're talking about amending, is in the city charter, and so we're amending the city charter to make democracy dollars possible, right? To enable this system. But you don't put everything in the city charter. That would be like having our whole criminal code in the U.S. Constitution or something, right?
Yeah.
So you still have to implement it. So
So pass it and then figure out how to do it?
just
And
as we
that's
do with
exactly
everything
what
of this
has been
sort.
said by both Olay. We talked to Olay, and we
Yeah.
have talked to the governing people that are going to do this, and they say after it's passed. So you're asking voters to make a decision when they don't know exactly how this is going to be managed because it's not been defined, and they've got to go vote on this, and
What's
then
an
you'll
eligible
decide how
resident?
it's going to work.
What's an eligible resident?
Well, excuse me, an eligible resident, well, frankly, what's going on there is we're saying if you're allowed to give a campaign contributions, then we're not going to define you out of it in the city charter. That'll still get implemented somehow when the city clerk and the city council and everybody sits down to figure out just how to administer the system, like they do with everything else.
Why wouldn't it just say registered voter? Right?
Why would
Like,
it say registered voter?
Because that's
I mean,
who should get the
That's who
money.
should get, that's who should get the. that's who
Because
should get
I'm
the vote.
registered to vote.
well, you
I
have to
shouldn't get
register
a
to vote.
coupon if I'm not going to give out.
Well, let's do this. We got
Well,
about
again,
anyways, let's-
that could
let's
be,
hold.
Eric,
that's
we can-
possible that it's implemented that way,
Yeah.
but what you're complaining about right now is our current campaign finance system. You don't have to be a registered voter to contribute money to a candidate. That's the only reason that.
Yeah, but it's my money. I earned it. Not government money that was given to you.
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
So-
Whenever you
so
get
here's the
government
thing.
money,
we
there's
create
gotta
the
be string
possibility
attached.
with democracy dollars to change that if we want. Right now, if you got kids you mentioned you have kids at home, they can make campaign contributions to candidates. That's the law in America right now. And I've heard
Yeah,
people
they're-
complain about
they're
that possibility. We can't outlaw that right now if your kids want to make contributions to a candidate. But under democracy dollars, if we want to put a limit on how they can use the vouchers, well, we can, because now we have some control over those vouchers.
We got about 30 seconds left.
Sorry.
I want to make sure you have the last say. With 30
Yeah.
seconds to go, why should voters vote for this? And we'll make sure they have information at Olay where you can get this.
Yeah.
Why is this so important now? Why is it now so important?
Well, as I told the story about how we had a system that worked and how it's been broken, and frankly, we just want to take it back to a system that works. And I think 2017 kind of demonstrated the ways that it's not working anymore and how dramatically it's not working. So we're trying to fix the system so that it works again.
I'll tell you right now, if we had open primaries, term limits,
know you're
100% public financing,
I
I
know
would
you're big
I would
on-
support this 100%. I'm still on the fence,
I'm
but
not- I'm not.
Eric, thank you so much for joining
not
us. I
well-defined,
appreciate it.
that's
You can go to Olay and we'll make sure they
Thanks
have on
for
the
coming in.
website.
We really
Carla,
appreciate it.
thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming. We'll be back right after this.
Yeah.
I'm Ben Lucero, president and owner of Indigo Mortgage. We are a locally owned and operated mortgage company right here in New Mexico. This means your loan officers and processors are right here to serve you. Indigo Mortgage offers better rates and terms than that of big banks and out-of-state lenders. Our mortgage divisions include residential, commercial, construction, reverse mortgages, and VA mortgage loans. Let us serve you with an exemplary level of care. Indigo Mortgage, because nobody cares more about your mortgage loan.
Ryan Sewing and Vacuum is New Mexico's #1 brother dealer. Brother's new Luminaire has a built-in projection system which helps with quilting, embroidering, and sewing. Ryan's has a variety of machines to satisfy quilters, sewers, embroiders, and long armors. We offer the finest vacuums like Miele, Riccar, and Lindhaus. Check out our fantastic selection of fabrics and sewing furniture. We also offer classes, repair, and financing. Drop by our store in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Ryan Sewing and Vacuum, serving New Mexico for 37 years.
Welcome back to Let's Meet in the Middle.
So did Eric convince you on democracy dollars?
No, not even close. And what's even more funny is there's this fancy brochure, and
That's promoting Brooke Bassan, by the way.
that's paid for by Olay. No, it's against Brooke Bassan.
Right.
And it's paid for by Olay. There's big. Let's be honest. Here's what we can see in the middle. There is big money, dark money on both sides.
Absolutely.
And nobody has the moral high ground on that.
I
And
agree.
if we're being honest, democracy dollars is another fancy way to push dark money to favorite candidates, and there's too many loopholes there.
Well, and again, that's a flyer that I got against Brooke.
Paid
and-
for by Olay.
Paid for by Olay. But again, Common Cause is sending one out about democracy dollars. The mayor is for democracy dollars. And if you look at it, Common Cause, the Democratic Party of Bernalillo County, all these
Planned
different
Parenthood, Equality New
organizations,
Mexico.
Adelante, Progressive Now, all these organizations are really supporting democracy dollars. And at the beginning, it sounds like a good idea. And in fact, I
Doesn't
favored it at the
sound like a
beginning.
good idea.
But no, the more and more you look into it, I'm really concerned because it could favor well-organized, finance, private candidates.
I'm going to ask you this. Is Olay receiving money from California and outside sources? Answer yes, 1,000,000%.
Right.
So they organize, they send their troops out, and it's getting democracy dollars, and it does not level the playing field, which is exactly what they're trying to do. You want to level the playing field, you want to play with state money or taxpayer money, you're going to just take the money, see how many candidates, and then you make them accountable if PACs weigh in and sway the campaign.
Well, and I think this show we're going to meet in the middle on this because, you know, I believe in open primaries. I do believe in term limits. If we had open primaries and term limits and some of that democracy dollars, okay, then I'm okay with. The issue I have right now, way to go.
Yeah.
You got to turn off your phone, by the way.
Yes.
We're on TV. But that's one of my biggest issues. And again, let's go back. You can go to Common Cause, you can go to Olay to check out on their websites, to check out their
where
stats.
they're getting money from.
Well, and again,
And that's one thing we both can see straight up. These grassroots organizations aren't so grassroots when they have a $500,000 budget filtering in money from somewhere, right?
well, and again, I agree with you there. That's why we wish we could get these dollars out.
But that's
the
not
dark
doing it.
dollars, that's not going to do it. And I agree that the state could actually set up guidelines that we could set and actually sue.
Well, you made that point pretty strong. I thought that was one of your better
And actually,
points.
we could sue the Supreme Court and challenge, or we could sue the country, or challenge the Supreme Court on that, which I think is going to be going down the road.
I just
but
think,
more important.
my common sense just tells me this, Jeff, and let me make this point. If we have public money and you opt for public money, you keep track of the candidate and make them accountable with real consequences, because there was no real consequence in our last mayoral election. Don't need to name anybody, but it all just goes away quietly. If you make them actually accountable, meaning if you are caught breaking campaign finance rules and your money gets blended, you immediately are withdrawn from the election. And make them accountable.
And I don't disagree.
It's common sense stuff.
I don't disagree with
if
that.
If it's
So
taxpayer money,
people
and
are
accountability.
candidates are always going to find loopholes to favor themselves. That's why I'm against any type of public finance dollars. It's either 100% public financed and take the private money out, or everybody do private money.
And so here's where we're going to kind of differ a bit too, is in terms of this election in particular, I'm for no more money. Everybody has to tighten their budgets.
So you're favoring don't vote for Prop 1, Prop 2.
Don't vote for any of it.
Right. And I'm
And
kind
I
of
think it's time as voters to say, unless we see results, you get no more extra
and
money.
I favor not vote. I agree with you. Let's not vote for Prop 1, Prop 2. But anyway,
Is there one you really like in this? Go ahead.
Unfortunately,
That's
we're
okay.
running out of time.
Yeah.
So, but more importantly, we're Facebook Live, and we're asking
Yes.
questions that our
Yes.
Facebook audience is looking at.
We would love to
And
hear
so
from you on
Don't forget
Facebook.
Facebook Live. But hey, New Mexico, watch every week. Never give up, and
Go
always find
on,
a way.
make a difference in the world.